Hi, my name is Jake. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to make this title right here.
What do you got? Yeah, I'm ready to rock that. What do you got? Yeah, I'm ready to rock that.
I really like this blending mode. If we crank up this value really high, or 250, we will get this kind of noise, which we could see an original effect. Make this form layer disappear. So now as you scrub through timeline, you will get this animation. Just look at it. I think it looks just perfect. Okay, if you want to have cool titles and not create your own because you don't have any time, or for example you use Premiere Pro, you'll have this cool library of awesome titles and infographics, as you can see. So now let's check this cool promo from today's sponsor, Easy Edit. All needed links will be in description below. By the way, do you like it, my new setup? Now I have these cool transitions, like a streamer. So for this title, we are going to use Trapcode Form and Trapcode Particular. It doesn't come with Adobe After Effects, so it's external plugin which you need to download. So now we are in Adobe After Effects. Let's get started. I just realized that I can make so much more using OBS than usual stuff. So as you can see, I'm in Adobe After Effects 2020. Let's create a new composition. We are going to need a simple composition. Full HD is good. Let's call it main and click OK. Now we are going to make a new title. So select this text tool here. Let's make it bigger and type mini. I'll use Monsterrat font. It's free font, you can download it from web. I think it looks good. I've used 400. Nice and big. Let's type mini. And spacing I set to -55. As you can guess, from this character tab, you can adjust your look of your text. You can also use this align tool to align it here. If you don't see this align tool here, you can go to Window and check here for align. Enable it from here. Also is also the character tab. So let's see if we are happy with this result. I also want to change this size to 125. If you see me look down here, I have few notes because I don't really remember all the settings which I've used. So let's use it like this. So to create this title, I've used a lot the reference, the commercial of Apple iPod mini itself. So let's check it. Let's just scroll to this moment where we can see our title. You can see that we have some gradient which goes through the text and then some particles which we are going to recreate. So first thing which we're going to do is to apply some cool colors to this, and we will use 4 gradients. Let's go back. So for this we need to go to Effect. I don't really remember where it is. It's maybe, and yes, it's Generate 4 color gradient. But I really recommend you to use this toolbar from Video Copilot, because it's easier to find the effects if you know the name of the effect. So we are going to use this 4 color gradient. And as you can see, the colors blending not so good. I've used blending mode, I believe hard light. I really like this blending mode because colors transition from one to another much prettier. And then I just downloaded this reference and tried to repeat this pattern as close as I can. So let me show you how to do this. You need just to set the keyframes to all the points and colors. Let's select this 4-color gradient, and you can see this point, and you can change the color like this. This one, you can tweak it like this, and then scrub through timeline and set new colors. I would not recommend to move these points as much, and instead just use this to change the color itself, to give some animation which you could see in the commercial itself. So I don't want to spend too much time on this part. I'm just going to apply already made color gradient which I've made in my original example. I just paste it, press U on keyboard. So basically it's just moving points and colors. So in this way you can get this pretty nice animation. So now we need to pre-compose this text composition. Let's go to Layer, Pre-compose, or Ctrl-Shift-C on keyboard. Let's call it text, move all attributes, set it here, and click OK. And let's create a new layer. With this layer we are going to make our first particles. Let's type it form, because this plugin we will use, and click OK. Let's set it maybe to black. The color doesn't matter, so you can set whichever you want. Click OK, and then let's type form. Once again, this is external plugin which you need to download and install into your After Effects software. You can also find it here in Effects and Trapcode Form. Don't worry, I am going to explain every setting which I've used, not just typing in like I did before in my previous tutorials. So first of all, we need to go to base form. We are going to use text or masks. We need to go to text mask settings here and set it to text. Doesn't work because we pre-composed this composition here. And you might be asking, why did I pre-compose this text? So the reason why I pre-composed, because I need this text to have these colors in. In this way, we are going to use all these colors to color our Trapcode form. But now, as you can see, we have new problem. It doesn't connect with this text. For this, we are going to select this text composition to solve this problem and go to Layer, Auto Trace. In this way, we are going to create a mask around our text. You can click on this preview button to see the mask. It looks fine with these basic settings which software will provide you. So let's click OK. So now we have this mask. Let's use it. We can just disable it for now and drag it down. Let's go to form itself and connect to this auto trace text. So now, as you can see, we connected our text and this worked properly. So we don't need this. Let's just delete this. And text itself, we can hide it by clicking on this eyeball here. Okay, we have our text, and also we need to click on this match text, match size. In this way, it will repeat same size of this text which we had as original. Okay, let's set here in Z space to 1, because we don't need 3 instances. We have some problem here. Let's try to fix this. Let's try to disperse to see if we will get this issue. Size in Z, let's set it to 25. So let's close these tabs and let's work on our particle look. Sphere feather is basically the feather around our circles. Let's set it to 0. Size we are going to leave at 2. And size random, let's set it to 100. Basically it makes some particles smaller and then some particles bigger. So now let's set our disperse and twist to 7, because we need to see our titles good like this. As you can remember, in this example, we have the particles which spread in the vertical space. So let's try to replicate this and start animating. So to animate our title in vertical space, we need to go to fractal field here. And let's set this displacement mode to X, Y, and Z individual. In this way, we can just tweak, as you can see, only in one axis, exactly what we want. Let's create a first keyframe at the beginning of our layer. Here we will set to about 33. Let's set a keyframe here, by clicking on this stopwatch. Keyframe is basically the way to tell the software to remember this value in this point in time. If we press U on keyboard, we can see our first keyframe, as you can see here. Then let's skip few frames. I'll set to 9 frame and I create new keyframe by clicking here. I'll set it to 350 to get this kind of stretchy motion and maybe skip few frames. If we click once again on this keyframe, we will save this value. As you can see here, 350, it's saved. And then let's skip few frames to 19 frame here and set it to 0. So we already have this motion. Let's just select these two keyframes, F9 on keyboard. As you can see, we need to tweak this effect a bit because it doesn't look quite right. So we can go to F scale and let's increase to 250. In this way, as you can see, if we change this value, it will basically add some waves. But if we crank up this value really high, or 250, we will get this kind of noise, which we could see in original effect. So now we have this stretching motion. Let's go back to reference to see what we need to do more. So we kind of emulate this part here. So let's try to replicate this stretching motion and combined with this wave. Let's go back to After Effects. So we can basically just copy these keyframes, just select them and press Ctrl-C on keyboard to copy. And here later, we can press Ctrl-V to paste it. We can just spread it around and maybe change this value to a lower value, like 200. Because second time, as you can remember, it didn't stretch as much as first time. So now when we have the second motion, let's also add this wave effect, which we could see in the ad itself. So to add this wavy motion, we are going to use sphere to influence our particles. So as you can see, we have these settings which called spherical field. Let's open it. And we have these two spheres. With strength, as you can see, we can push from the center of the sphere our particles. Exactly what we want, but we need to have the bigger radius, like this, and a lot less of the strength. Let's set it to 10 to see what we're going to get. It looks quite good, but we need to spread it like this. So our sphere would be like more like a wave. I'll set my radius to a really big value, like 1400. Okay, now we can just scale our x-axis to 160. If we change this position, you can see how it will get through this text and kinda emulate this effect which we could see in this moment. We are going to simulate here. Scale Y, I'll set it to 70. With this scale Y, you can see that we can make this wave tighter. So in scale Z, if we will set to 5, if we will set to low value as 5, it will hide the fact that we are using this sphere. It looks more like a wave. So now what we need to do, just to animate this wave going through our text. We are going to use the sphere 1 position. Let's create first keyframe about at 24th frame. Create a keyframe. Press U to see our keyframe and skip few frames. And let's create a new keyframe. Just here, sphere 1, create a new keyframe. Here we need to go way lower. So idea here is to go as low as you can. So as you can see, if we have here, it doesn't affect at all. If you go here to like, let's say to 1200, it will affect our text a bit. So let's set it to about 1050. And at this keyframe here, let's move it up. And also we need to move until this point where it doesn't affect our text. In my case, let's leave it at minus 315. Okay, as you can see, we have now our first wave. And if you'll take a look at the commercial, it has like one wave and one little wave. So let's just copy these settings and apply it to sphere 2. We can just click on this sphere 2 position and click to create a new keyframe. Press U on keyboard to see this keyframe. Here it is. And now we just copy these keyframes from sphere 1 position. Control C on keyboard and Control V to paste it here. Select this keyframe and press Control V. And now as you can see, we don't have any movement at all because we need to tweak these settings as well. So second wave, it should be a lot smaller than first wave. I've set my values to 3. So as you can see, we have a little movement. So let's copy these values of radius and scale X and scales Y. Here is 160 and here is 70. And scale Z, let's set it also to 5. Let's take a look. Okay, we have this little motion. Let's spread it a bit. And let's see this part here. So we need these waves to overlap a bit. Select these keyframes, move it over about here. And this maybe just spread it a bit. I'll set it to here and press F9. Let's preview this. Okay, this looks pretty good. Now let's add some wavy motion to our titles here. Let's check once again our reference. So we already made this first motion, then this second motion. We'll have left to make this last motion, and here this little wavy motion between these two bass drops. For this we are going to make another form layer. Just duplicate this form. Let's cut this layer to this moment. And let's see how long this wavy motion will be. Maybe to this moment. Let's cut it here as well. And now let's just tweak some settings in form. So let's go to base form. I'll set this to 0 because it doesn't really change anything. Then let's go to fractal field to make some animation, this wavy animation which we could see in the original reference. So here in Y displays, we can just delete these keyframes and set it to 150. So basically what it does is just spreads these particles in the vertical dimension like this. Let's set it to 150. So now flow X, I've set it in my original example to minus 550. And to see what it does, we need to change F scale first. So F scale will set to 7. If you remember, F scale is the property which gives this wavy motion. As higher this value is, it's tighter these waves will be. So if we will set to really high value, you can see these waves is really tight like this. We want to set it to about 7 to have this kinda nice motion. And with this flow X, we are going to give a direction. Negative value, it means that our flow is going to from right to left. And maybe I'll reduce complexity to 2. But as you can see, it jumps into frame too quickly. So let's animate it. So let's go to particles, particle master. Here we can animate our size. About here, we can set keyframe to size. At the beginning of layer, we can set it to 0. And here we can press U to see our keyframes. These keyframes which we just created. Set another keyframe. And here at the end, we can set it to 0 as well. Maybe just spread it a bit like this. So it will not jump too fast into our shot. Let's close it here. Let's preview. As you can see, we still can see this part where it appears too fast. And we can fix this by adding a much more visibility of our particles. For this, we can go to Effect, Color Correction, Curves. So let's add it to this form layer here and go to Alpha Channel and set to really high value like this. We can copy this. To copy, just select this curves effect and press Ctrl C on keyboard. Go to this form layer and press Ctrl V to paste it. Let's make it not so bright. Maybe like this. And now let's preview. I think now it's blending much better. And now we need to give some outro to this effect here. If you only have trapcut form, you basically could go to disperse and animate this value here, like this. But if you have TrapCut Particular, you can continue with this tutorial because we are going to use it. Go to Layer, New, Solid. Let's call it Particular. Let's also go to Effect, TrapCut Particular. Here, I never use this. I just, once again, Control Space, and it will bring up this Video Copilot panel. It's way easier. Or in Effects and Presets, you can just type TrapCut Particular. Okay, now we have this TrapCut Particular here. Let's disable these two layers, and let's work with these particles. So once again, we need to go to Emitter, and let's change our type to Text and Masks, as well as we did in Form. Let's open this tab here, and select Auto Trace Text. Let's increase our particles per second to really high value to see our text better. I'll set my value to 100,000. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. As you can see, now we have a lot of these particles. Then I'll set direction to directional, because in this mode it's easier to spread our particles in right direction. Let's set direction spread to 0, because we are going to influence our flow in motion not with direction speed, but with the velocity itself. So now we can change this direction to maybe -3, and by changing to -3, it will go slightly up into the frame. These settings we will just set to 0, because we don't need any other influence on our particles. Let's go to Particle. In our case, our particles will fly so fast into the camera, so we don't need the life to be so big. Let's set it to 0.8 of the second. They will die out pretty fast. Size over life, let's set it to this preset here. Sphere feather, let's set it to 0. And size itself, let's set it to really small value, because they are going to approach to the camera and will get pretty big. We can also apply our curves effect to it. Let's go to Effect Color Correction Curves to see it better. In Alpha channel, let's make it brighter, like this. And size random here in the particle master, let's set it to 50%, so we'd have some variation in our particles. Then we need to go to work with physics. And here, Physics Master, let's go to Turbulence. Here in Air, we can go to Turbulence, Field, and tweak these values. So to add some turbulence, we need to change or size or position. In our case, we want to tweak our position. Let's set it to 77. With this scale property, we are going to make how dense our turbulence is. If scale is big, like 10, it will get like really dense. And if we'll set to 1, which we are going to do, turbulence will be like much smoother, I guess. And complexity we will set to 1, because we don't really see the difference in turbulence with this fast movement, which we are going to add. And for last, we need to decrease evolution speed, so turbulence animation would not change so much. So let's set it to 15. And finally, let's animate our direction, this direction speed, and velocity to give some animation to our particles. In my original example, I've started at 128 frame. It's about here. Let's move it to this moment. And here at 2 seconds and 3 frame, like here where we got a lot of these particles born, we need to click here on particles per second to create a keyframe. And here second, and 16 frame, we can set it to 0. In this way, TrapCut Particular will not generate any more particles. Let's press U to see our animation. So as you can see, we have this decay motion, which looks pretty good on itself. But let's add this flow motion into the camera. So here, if you want to have the exact same result as you can see on my screen, you need to carefully follow instructions. Like first keyframe, we need to set at 2 seconds and 4 frame, like here, we need to create keyframe at velocity. Let's set it to big value like 5050. In this way, as you can see, it already flows into the camera. And then at point of 2 seconds and 8, we will reduce the velocity to 3000. And second animation, which I've added to my original example, I just animated my direction spread. We are going to go to second, and 9 frame, and create a keyframe to our direction spread. Then move our time cursor here to 2 seconds and 12 frame, and direction spread, set it to 21. So let me explain this part here. With velocity, we've added this initial burst. From text itself, particles just float around. And with direction spread, we just made the text, this initial part where emitter generates particles, also flow a bit farther. So with velocity, we are shooting the particles itself, and direction spread will just follow a bit with these particles. So maybe if I enable here motion blur, and here as well, and maybe let's increase a bit more, like this, you will see that we have this initial burst. So with this animation of direction spread, we're making this second little burst. Okay, let's take a look with this form here. We have this cool animation. Let's check maybe, yes, we didn't click on this match text mask size. So as you can see, it doesn't match as well. Let's click it. Now it's really tight to the text. And now as you can see, we need to make this form layer disappear. So for this, we are going to use layer maps, and we will influence our size. Let's disable our particle layer. In size, we will add some texture. So for this, let's go to layer, new, solid. We will call it texture, click OK, and let's add some fractal noise. Go to noise, fractal noise. Here we can use just dynamic twist, looks cool. And basically maybe this, let's change scale a bit higher like this. We need to add a bit of contrast, and we will animate this with brightness. So basically what we are going to do, we are going to make this white like this. Press U to see this keyframe, which we just created. And about here, if we check our particular, where all particles disappear, we need to set our texture to black. So I enable my texture layer and set it to black by changing this value like this. So as you can see, we have this animation here. And basically the form layer itself will look at this texture, and where is white, it will show particles, and where is black, it will not show the particles. So to use this layer, we need to pre-compose it. Go to layer, pre-compose. Once again, let's call it texture, and click here, move all attributes. It's important. Click OK. We can disable it for now. Move it lower. Go to form and load it here, and layer maps, size, set it to texture. As you can see, nothing is happening because we need to set where map over. So let's set it to X, Y, time, and Z. In this way, it uses X and Y axis to map our texture over, and also the time. So the animation as well. So now as you scrub through timeline, you will get this animation. And if we enable our particular layer, you could see that it looks like those particles just flying out and disappear. Pretty cool animation. So let's take a look. Okay, that looks awesome. Just look at it. I think it looks just perfect. Okay, final step is to use the colors. As you can see, I didn't use the colors, didn't load them yet, but we will do this right now, because in this way it will render a lot faster. So now let's load these colors. Select form, here in base form, And here in text mask, we can change this layer RGB usage to RGB particle color. Okay, it didn't work as I've planned it, but we can fix this really easily. We just need to press M on keyboard. I just forgot that we needed to copy all these masks to our text composition. It's easy to fix. Just select this auto trace text, press U on keyboard to see all the masks, or M on keyboard. We can just delete all of these keyframes, we don't need them. And simply select all of these masks like this. Press Ctrl C on keyboard, close it, and select this text layer and press Ctrl V to paste these masks. Now we can just delete this auto trace text. It will disappear, it's normal. And now we just load this text here. Select form, then go to text masks. And here in layer, let's set it to text. In this way, it loaded again. But now, as you can see, we can use this RGB particle color. So let's make sure that this form also uses the text. Let's set it here in text masks text. And also change RGB usage to particle color. And here at particles, let's also go to text. Also set to text. And RGB particle color. And finally, let's add layer, new solid, background. Let's set it to off-white, like in the commercial itself. Okay, okay, and set it below. And let's preview our result. I think it looks good. As you can see here, we have some links to my Instagram and my Twitch channel. If you want, I can just run a stream of how I make these effects, or maybe just chat with you guys. And in this way, I want to talk with you online, read the chat, what effects you like, and maybe give you some quick tips on how to make some effects. If you like this idea, you can just go to this Twitch account and subscribe. And also let me know in the comment section below if you like this idea. By the way, you can support my channel. This is my Video Hive page. I created templates. I also will be creating a template for streamers. So just check, all the links will be in the description below. See you next video. Thank you for watching.